What's up, money growers? Jacob back here with another video talking today about why credit unions are better than banks. So this is one of a two-video series where I just did one talking about why banks are better than credit unions and one why credit unions are better than banks. So I give some information, got some research for you, some personal experience I can share with you guys, and hey, you can decide, if you want to do one, the other, or both even. I actually have accounts with both. So go ahead, hit the thumbs up button. We got some good stuff to talk about. Thank you for spending part of your day with me on this channel. I'm happy to have you here and happy to help you out. The channel's growing like crazy because, you do 2 videos a day. It's kind of how it goes. All right. So hopping into this, what is a credit union? Okay, now most people are familiar with banks, right? I mean, from the time you're a kid, right? You know about banks, right? You hear about banks. You see the big brands, the Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, that kind of thing, right? Credit unions, not most people are not as familiar with credit unions, okay? And there are differences between the two. So a credit union is it's a type of financial cooperative, okay? Now, they do provide traditional banking services, but they can be formed by a large corporation, an organization, other entities for their employees and members, sometimes just a group of employees, who work together that wind up starting a credit union. Some of them have pretty cool histories if you ever look into some of them across the country. Now, the thing with credit unions is they are created, owned, and operated by their participants. So they are not for profit enterprises, okay? So it says as such, they are not for profit enterprises that enjoy tax exempt status. So, which means the members actually own the credit union. They're not owned by, shareholders, right? So, like, you can buy shares of stock in Chase and Wells Fargo and that kind of thing. That's not how credit unions operate. So, that's why some people like them, because they feel like that they make better decisions because they're not under pressure from shareholders like big banks are, is one theory. Okay, now as we continue, as a member-owned cooperative financial institution, a credit union puts its members first. This is one of the things where they have a good reputation, is giving more individualized customer service. So because oftentimes a credit union will only operate within a certain geographic area. So maybe even you may have to live within a certain state, you may have to live within a certain county to even be able to be a member. And it can be based on things like employment, right? If you're a member of the military, there's Navy Federal, right? There's USAA. There's several credit unions that tend to support and focus on military. And you can still get into those if you're civilian oftentimes, but their focus is on military. It could be based on employment at a certain company. It could be based on a union you're in. It could be based on where you go to school, where you worship for whatever religious faith that you have. There's a whole bunch of things for, to have qualifying membership. Sometimes it could just be that you donate to a certain organization and then that can get you in. So with that being said, though, because they're oftentimes more locally focused, people feel like they get more personal attention and more commitment, to getting their financial needs met, to getting help with things that they need. And they feel like there's more flexibility because they're typically just working with a local community. There's not as much red tape as there is with a large bank. And they have more flexibility to help you given your particular situation. Now, with the financial benefit, financial education. So because they're not for profit and they have lower overhead costs than banks, they're oftentimes able to pass on those costs to consumers. So, to you, the customer, right? So giving you some competitive prices, whether it's, interest rates on loans, certificates of deposit, things like that. Like I know with Navy Federal, they do. I think they've got the CD where you can put in $3,500, but they give you, I think it's a 3% interest rate or something like that on a CD for a year. So that's for CDs, that's pretty high. And then they oftentimes can help you with financial planning, right? Wealth management services. They'll do education on how to make smart money decisions in the local community. So about how to manage well, maybe they'll do financial planning sessions or that kinds of things. They'll, put out maybe blog posts on their website. They'll have webinars, they'll have workshops in the community. They'll have other people who work in the financial field, whether it's, financial advisor or credit repair specialist come in and maybe do presentations there. Like it's more community focused and community centered because sometimes they only have a couple locations within a certain credit union and they're only people who live within, one county. So they can do more things that are local specific. Now, low and few account fees is another thing that people often like about credit unions. They often have no minimum balance requirements. Oftentimes, they will have said low fees with accounts or no fees, um, depending on just the credit union or depending on the bank, right? So lower deposit requirements to open accounts and lower overdraft, non-sufficient fund, ATM fees. Yeah, banks can beat you over the head with some of those fees. So sometimes too, when it comes to getting interest rates, so oftentimes you can get a lower interest rate at a credit union on a loan than you can at a bank. Now I've seen it both ways. Actually, when I bought my last car, I went to Navy Federal. They had some pretty competitive interest rates, but I was able to get lower actually through a bank. So, sometimes it can work in your favor. Sometimes it just depends. But a lot of people don't even go to credit unions to even look because they don't really even think about it as an option. Now, credit unions oftentimes also offer checking accounts with no minimum balance, no monthly service charges, right? Depending on the credit union. Even if you have issues with banking, right? Bounce a check. I mean, those fees could be lower as well. I mean, oftentimes, something like credit cards seem to have lower fees. I mean, Navy Federal is a big one, but even like USAA, they'll have no annual fee on their cards, no foreign transaction fees, things like that. So sometimes you can get some pretty good deals through a credit union that you wouldn't get at a bank. And then, of course, low and few account fees. Well, here's an example of Belco FC. This is out in Pennsylvania. How they have no monthly service fee, right? No or low minimum deposit to open the account, no minimum balance required. The online banking, mobile banking, the e-statements. I mean, when I signed up for USAA, I didn't have to pay anything for that. Didn't need, not even a $10 deposit to sign up for that. Higher APYs on savings vehicles. That's actually, like I said earlier, with Navy Federal, they've got a really good certificate of deposit for that kind of product. Something that's interesting is the National Credit Union Administration. They're the ones who regularly compare interest rates for savings deposits and loans for banks versus credit unions. And the NCUA is insurance guarantees up to $250,000 per share owner per insured credit union. So NCUA is the credit union version of like FDIC insurance for banks. So you hear about bank being FDIC insured, and that number $250,000. With credit unions, it's NCUA, National Credit Union Administration. Nationwide ATM access, surcharge-free ATMs. So ATMs, when it comes to credit unions, credit unions are not going to have as many as big banks. Okay, they're just not. So what they often do though is because they don't have as many locations for ATMs, because they don't have as many physical locations. What they do is with ATMs, they'll be like part of a network. So a nationwide network where you can go to ATMs, thousands of them, and there's no surcharge on them. So like a co-op shared branch network, like it says here, 5,600 branches and more than 54,000 surcharge-free ATMs. So I know a lot of them, like I see in 7-Eleven stores, in Target stores, certain hotels. I live here in Las Vegas, so that's where oftentimes I'll see like they have all these different ATMs you can go to in places like that because, even like, let's say Navy Federal, there's only 3, I think, Navy Federal locations in the entire Vegas area. There's over 2 million people who live here. So if you want to go to ATM, you don't have to go to just one of those 3 locations. If you want to be able to go to other places. So a lot of them are 7-Elevens. A lot of them are that kind of thing, just within that certain network. So you may also be able to collect refunds on some of your non-network ATM fees. Yep, that's pretty common too. Usually it's going to be a maximum dollar amount per month. So it could be $10, 15, 20, just again, depends on the credit union, where, up to that amount every month, say you do wind up traveling somewhere and, you wind up getting $10 in ATM fees for using different ATMs, they'll reimburse you for that. Easy to join. So this is about obtaining a loan with a credit union than a larger impersonal bank. So that's part of the thing too. So if you want to, going for like the loan part. So sometimes, yes, you can get a better experience with a loan at a credit union than you can with a bank. Again, it's just going to depend. This is not like uniform, this is not 100%, right? So one of the things to know about is, when it comes to your membership and you join as a member, members of the credit unions, they can play a more active role in it, right? So they get to vote for board of directors. They get to vote on policy changes and decisions made by the financial institution. So again, more locally focused, more community oriented, more interactive, and more personalized attention. And then this is some of the just, other things where they share within the local community, right? So they'll do cashback bonuses, community donations, volunteering events, scholarships, grants. Again, banks do lots of these kinds of things too, but a scholarship, a grant, something that's again going to a local college, local university, in an organization that focuses on that. That's tends to be a big deal versus a huge bank having maybe some national scholarship competition. And with that being said, I'm going to ask you go ahead and subscribe to the channel here as we're talking about credit unions, banks, all kinds of different things in the finance realm, credit cards, loans, interest rates. I mean, I enjoy sharing this info with you guys, trying to give you guys at least some base level understanding of some of this stuff because the financial world is a huge one and there's no shortage of information. And it's a fun world to explore and a fun world to discover. So hopefully I was able to help you guys out with that a little bit today. I appreciate you watching. Go ahead and subscribe because the channel's growing like crazy. Happy to have you, and I'll see you guys again soon.